Welcome back to Hearts of Iron 3's Black Ice 11.2. And of course, we're playing as the United States here for this playthrough. And of course, I'm Gamer1745. And if you're new here, I hope I can earn your subscription. And for everyone, I hope I can earn your like button, smashing the like button. Now, we're going to take a little talk about naval strategy, because if you've talked a bit about some of what I'm doing for naval. We're going to do a little bit of organization. Okay, well, what I've done here is I've created this Battleship Division 3 with 1 carrier, 6 battleships, and 2 light cruisers so far, and Battleship Division 4 similarly. So let's do this, because I believe in combined arms. And combined arms are different for surface warfare versus land warfare. That was hitting the wrong button. There we go. Now, several of you have criticized some of my naval strategy of grouping here, particularly the carriers in with the battleships. They were suggesting more battleships, heavy cruisers, and some destroyers, which we haven't put in yet. Let's do that now. Okay, we've got these, and these should all be, now we plan on these are all Clemson class destroyers. And hopefully we'll get Fletcher class destroyers, which should be significantly better. We'll give Nimitz here the extra destroyer. Right. They were suggesting battleships, some heavy cruisers, and some destroyers, which destroyers are going to be one of your better and probably your best fast anti-submarine warfare. And they were suggesting carriers, light cruisers, and destroyers for that group. Now, okay, why am I doing it this way? And is this a bad choice or a good choice here? Okay, well, I think it's a good choice. Obviously, that's why I'm doing it. But how you should work this out? Okay, and why I'm doing this. I'm putting 1 carrier here. I may, after a while, swap out, once I get them, swap out CVLs, the smaller fast carriers for this. The reason I'm having a carrier here with this battleship is not because if you have a carrier here and then you go battle the Japanese fleet or the German fleet or whoever, you can have your carrier sunk, which is not a good thing. It shouldn't try to enter into surface warfare, in the battles. It might, I don't know. I mean, it might get in there anyways, but it shouldn't try to. And that's not what the purpose of this is for. This is here to provide close air patrol, a CAP. That's what they would call it, for this fleet. I do not want this fleet to be going, or the other battleship division, to ever be moving around without a carrier air wing. I don't want to rely upon land-based air to fly fighter cover. I don't want to rely upon a different fleet, different group, to also have to be in that same sea provinces. Hey, Martek. And Daniel Nunez is here. Very good. And Eric is here. Very good. Hello. So I want to, whenever I move the battleships, wherever they're on at sea, I want to make sure they have air cover. And so the most immediate air cover will be from a carrier mixed with this group. So that is why I'm doing this. Now, okay, this has a single CAG on it. It could have 2 CAGs on board. Hopefully we'll build some more and add some more. Now, what you should do for carriers is let's presume for the moment. Hey, unqualified gamer, good to have you here. Is let's say there's a Japanese fleet here in this province. What you should do is you should move your carrier, say your carrier group, to this province over here. I'm clicking on, to this province, and then launch carrier attacks from here to here, and not bring your carriers in for surface battles. That very much is the case. So I'm planning on creating some carrier groups that will have my fleet carriers in them, and try to keep them out of surface action. I am not even sure. I'm sure that I'm probably not going to be able to micromanage it well enough, but I would like to keep even the because they're never. They try. What was it? Halsey was trying to get into a surface to surface sea battle with one of the Japanese fleets down in the Philippines region, and he even uncovered the landing support that he was supposed to cover it, and that was being attacked by a Japanese fleet, and he sort of got shamed and whatever, turned around to head back to protect the invasion fleet. I'm not saying we won't, or because one, I think they very well may just get into my battle fleet, but my goal is not to have this or even a group of divisions come into a Japanese fleet and have a big slugging match between battleships. It very well may happen, and I may even at some point choose to do so, but what I really want to do is stand off, over here and pound the fleet out here. Now, of course, they may try to pound my fleet back, and so it's back and forth, but with their carrier air groups. And so that is why I'm doing this mixed here, because we will have a dedicated carrier task force or division, or however you want to call it, but I just want to make sure that wherever these battleships go, they will have carrier-based air to protect them at all times. And that's my thinking on this, and not just that this is what I plan to charge into battle with. This is more, if they charge into battle with me, I'll be able to defend the carriers with some surface battle groups. Anyway, smart. I think their green policy makes perfect sense if you think about their ultimate goal of being reduction of human consumption instead of what they say. Martek, you're probably right. Now, I posted, I think it was just yesterday, on Twitter. You guys can follow my Twitter at gamer_1745 over on Twitter. A graphic from a 1953 magazine saying how all the population of the world then could be fit into, and they, a super sized sort of skyscraper at the time, comfortably. And as part of that, I put Malthus is wrong. And I agree with you that there are, for several ideological reasons, and some of them are disingenuous. I think some are anti-white racists, and I don't just mean in the U.S., I mean in other parts of the world that are trying to use white guilt. I don't feel any, but some people do. White guilt and other things as a power play for their ethnic or racial groups from other parts of the world. So they're using it. So they're disingenuous about maybe population reduction, but they're using that to try to depopulate the West. I think there is that going on. Again, I have put this, I am not a racist. I am a culturalist. I don't care about your skin color. I care about your culture. That's what I care about. but you are right. There are depopulationists. There are, and I've seen it ever since the 70s, which I think comes along with it, are the anti-consumptionists. They want to minimize human activity. And so I do believe you're right that they may want to go, oh, well, we just don't have enough power here in California. We have to shut this down. We don't have enough power. We got to shut this down. And by engineering not having enough power, instead of building power plants, they're trying to do sort of, and I've seen some, idealistic drawings, and I even saved some, of a future in which it's all green, and we all live in little sort of little mini farms that are all green plants around you. All, wouldn't this be beautiful? And you go out and you pick your tomatoes and you pick your lettuce from your home farm, and there's just all these, small, no big cities, and just all these little small communities everywhere. Wouldn't this be wonderful? I'm going, no. That's a bad idea. I don't want to live that way, but they want to convince us to live that way, and I do think there is that. Martek, you're absolutely right. Hello, gamer. Speaking, hi, Beam Slam. I haven't said it already. Speaking of naval stuff, I heard that there is a ship kit on offer, a bundle with both Titanic and Moskva. Yeah, that's good. I hadn't heard that. I believe there very well could be. Thinking of the two ships, I get it. How do you like this game to hoy for? This with Black Ice is my favorite over anything in Hoi 4, though there are some really good things with Hoi 4. What I would really want is a mix of the two, and I'm not going to go into right now, unqualified gamer, but on the details. But I prefer this over Hoi 4. Now, I play a lot of Hoi 4. Until I just started this series, I've been playing World of Blaze Hoi 4. I really like Hoi 4. But of the two, but with the Black Ice version, this is still my favorite, because I think this is still the most realistic World War II Grand Simulator. Hoi 4 is too much your EU 20th century, too much, hey, let's bring the Kaiser back to Germany, or let's make America fascist, or, it's too much of these alt history stuff to really nail it down for me. Not that it's all bad, because like I say, I do like it, but this is, I think, a better game still. Sounds like a shrinking deal to me, yes. The business is going under, yeah, okay. I hate these sort of manufactured crises like you described. They make me feel so powerless. Absolutely. And I do think they are we are in a drought in Southern California, or in California, but I think it's more Southern California. We are in it, and it's been for about 10 years. But they've also, while this has been going on, have torn down and stopped building of dams to catch water when it does rain, because it does rain during seasons, and it does do this, because they're worried about, they claim, they're worried about certain endangered species. That if there's not enough water flowing to the oceans or whatever, if you trap it in dams, in smallish dams, because none of these projects would be huge dams in volumes of water, but enough to help, that they don't want to stop water when the water does flow, naturally. I recently found out this is the Colorado River here, all the way coming up from here, the Colorado River. Well, it no longer goes into the ocean. I don't think it even goes to Mexico anymore. I recently found this out. They, because Southern California pumps out, or gets a lot of it. They also send a lot of it to Arizona, put it to farming. That literally they go and they use all of the Colorado River. Now, Mexico never really used much. It just sort of came through here and into the ocean. So we're now pulling this Colorado River water literally to LA, to San Diego, and off over where's to Phoenix, and other sort of uses, that all this water here, now it's not necessarily a bad thing, but they're getting their water from over here when there's a lot of water rain that hits in these areas, and they refuse to build dams, that would hold considerable amounts of water. Not enough to, not any one of them is going to solve the problem, but it would alleviate the problem, because when we do get lots of water coming down, the ground is sort of dry, so a lot of the water comes in, flows quickly, and into the ocean. But they don't want to build dams to trap that water and allow it to be used before it immediately flows into the ocean, whether for farming in certain areas, in the Central Valley, or for other human consumption uses. So there is, hey Ragar, no, we're talking problems in California here. So, and they claim it's environmentally. They claim that, well, they've killed off a lot of the farming here. Really pissed off a lot of them, the true Mexican American communities, because a lot of them are Mexican American, not just Mexicans that have come to America, but truly the Mexican Americans here. They pissed off a lot of them because they are limiting their use of the water for farming over, well, water levels need to be kept up for this animal type that is endangered. Well, this animal type, whatever it is, some newts or whatever, have been around for millions of years, living in this environment, and the environment's altered and changed, and they've gotten larger and smaller populations. I don't think it's going to kill these damn things. They're just, I think I think, like Esmortek's saying, I think they're using it as an excuse for some of them, and others they are just humans be damned, literally humans be damned, nature is more important. Hell, fuck nature if nature means significant damage to humanity, okay? Fuck nature. Now, if we can, and there are ways to work together, to live together with nature, absolutely. But if we're going to choose between nature and humanity, fuck nature. Let's get humanity. Humanity is what is important to be saved. Now, humanity is best saved with having well flourishing nature, no doubt. But you don't panic over these things. And it's just incredibly stupid. What's the big cities for the coastline when the water rises? This will happen if we don't do anything. Well, the water isn't going to rise. I mean, that's just silly. But they think it is. It's too mild. Imagine if you said something intersectional like endangered native lands. Oh, well, see, we don't have to worry about native lands anymore in California. They all have casinos, okay? They all have casinos. They got plenty money. I'm not going to go into it, but I know very much of the history of some of these tribes out here. Why I know and whatnot, I'm not going to go into that. But tribes that had, well, we'll just say, had almost zero population, in that the tribe literally had less than 10 people registered as members of the tribe, now have hundreds of people listed as members of this tribe because they now have a casino and they get a cut of the casino. So yeah, the tribal lands are now just casinos here in California. The U.S. robbed Mexico of their rivers. That's great. Capitalists are the fine. Well, it's this river here. I don't really know that they were using it much, quite honestly. If we look at terrain mode, it was just desert. Mexico really didn't use this. I don't know if it's robbed, but now we wouldn't be here for starters. Well, okay, beam slam, but you got to understand their viewpoint. you don't have any nature in Europe because it's all managed. So they want wild nature, not the nature that you manage in Europe. See, what you do in Europe, you manage the nature. That isn't correct. They want it wild. And there's an ideological difference. And it's nutty. I just don't really want to go off in too big of a rant and go out there. Hello, get good kids, son. How you doing? Stop global warming. Well, the globe. I'm more global warming. Where the Earth is too cold. We need it warmer, people. We need global warming. These fucking, you got me on this, guys. Now these guys are fucking nuts. We need some global warming, please. Thank you. We are not yet up to the temperatures of the Middle Ages, the Middle Age warm period, and we're not up to the temperatures that were there during the Roman Empire. We went through, during the Dark Ages, there was a mini ice age, and then during the Renaissance, there was also significant ice cap increase up in here, and they talk about, oh, well, you look at 1900 ice, glaciers, and then you come here at, from photos of literally like 1900 or 1910, and then you look at 2010, and the ice is all retreated. Yeah, the ice is all retreated, and you know what they found under the ice? They found fucking Viking homes, okay? So when the Middle Ages, the Vikings were living in Greenland, it was green, and they found homes with what they can only determine to be pastures because of the animal bones that they found out there that they were grazing on green grass. Okay, under the glaciers, they found Viking homes that had animals that were farming and animals grazing on green grass, horses or whatever, okay, or cattle that the Vikings brought out to here that are not natural in Greenland. Okay, we need to go back to that level of warmth. Yes, it is retreat of the northern ice cap. Now, you do know, people, now maybe it's the Nazi secret Antarctica base, but it's the ice cap is growing bigger and bigger and bigger down in Antarctica. It is getting much bigger in Antarctica while it's retreating in the northern hemisphere. So we need to go back to the Middle Ages warm, or the sort of Roman Empire classical warm period. So some more global warming, and even the global warming alarmists say, yeah, a few more degrees would be good for humanity, but after that it's going to get terrible. Well, they project that it's going to just keep going more and more, that it's going to keep going, rising up, when we've been doing less and less polluting. So more global warming would be good for humanity. It'll put us back to better growing temperatures in much of the environments for humanity, for more food, better conditions. We need some more global warming to get to the Middle Age warm period, or the classical era warm period. So that's what we need to do. Not reading this up because many societies are not adapted to it right now, because it was never, it get good. It was warmer in the Middle Ages and in the Roman era. It was warmer then. We need to go back to that. I think it was 1903, before the Industrial Revolution, was the last frost fair in London on the Thames River. The last time it froze over enough to do, and that was like a 200-year-old or more tradition of frost fair that they would set up on the frozen over Thames River at London. And I think it was 1903 was the last one, or it's within a few years of that, before the Industrial Revolution, before the population boom, that we saw significant warming back then. It has nothing to do with man's activity globally. Now, it might regionally, be human activity, but globally, no. And we want it warmer than it is now. So that would be good. Romans grew grapes in northern England 2,000 years. Well, also the Middle Age period. There was that. Hello, VS or VLSG. How you doing? I thought it was American Society in the 30s. Yeah, I know, but they got me off onto this other thing. And so, yeah, I'm not saying that there won't be hardships for some peoples on the planet, but fuck it. There's hardships, There's a lot more people dying in Ethiopia right now due to war than they're dying in Ukraine, and nobody fucking cares. Okay? There's more people dying in Ethiopia due to war and bullets and bombs right now. And it's affecting, I think, a larger population, though I don't know population levels for sure, but a large millions of people, tens of millions of people in Ethiopia in the Tigray war that's going on right now and was going on before Ukraine happened. Now, I understand Ukraine is scary to people because it could burst out into world war, and it's also near many of your homes. But nobody cared about people dying in Ethiopia. So you don't care about people dying in Ethiopia. You don't care about people dying in Somalia. So why the fuck do you care about some people living out in the Andaman Islands that might go under the water? You really don't care. It's just the greenies' excuse. Oh, well, there's 3,000 people out here on this island that may die or they'll have to move to somewhere else. Okay, so we move them. We move all 3,000 or 30,000 people, and we pay and buy land in India and give them land in India. And that'll be 0.1% amount of money that you would have to spend on that versus all of the money you need to try to spend to keep the climate from changing. So it would be cheaper just to help the damn marginalized people somewhere than it would be to try to solve the improvement of the weather for 80 to 90% of the world's population. You hear that? 80 to 90% of the world's population, the weather is going to get better. Weather patterns will be better. Weather patterns might be good enough so that North Africa can be, the coastal North Africa, not deep Sahara, but coastal North Africa might get a bit greener, get a bit wetter, support more people living there. Okay? That might be an outcome of this. But no, they don't want to worry about it's going to be better for all these people, and we can easily pay the money to help the marginalized people that are going to go underwater in their island. No, we've got to spend more money and do something that we don't even know is achievable because they claim it's a man and it's an industry that's causing this when it's clearly not, because it's happened before. The trend was already in that direction prior to the Industrial Revolution. And so that is why that this is all so bad. And I know it's American 30s, but you guys got me off on this. It's your fault, chat. They damage Russia. Well, there's a lot of humor. Well, thank you, VLSG Wargaming. So yeah, it'll be impossible to live around the equator, resulting in a mass. No, Beam Slam, it will not be, because I do not believe the temperatures will significantly change at the equator. Okay? My understanding of the situation, now I could be wrong, but my understanding the temperatures are changing up here, not down here. What I understand is they're worried about all this melting up here. Now, if you melt all the ice that's sitting over the water, that is not going to change the water levels, because that ice, although it's floating above the other water, okay, it's floating above the other water, but what it's doing is when it's floating above the other water, it's pushing the other water down. So you take a glass, pour some ice into it, big chunks of ice, so that there's a lot of air in there, and then pour in other water and make it level. And you'll notice as the ice melts, the water stays the same level. Okay? So it won't change level. Now, the ice melting over land, Greenland or something, that would go into the ocean. Absolutely. The parts that are over it. But Antarctica is growing bigger. I really think we're seeing not so much a global warming, but a northern hemisphere warming. I do not have good, and I don't know of good old data. Well, Greta Thunberg doesn't know anything. So it's going to the southern hemisphere. We do not have. There are very few societies that are southern hemispherical and are old. The Inca, because right here is the equator comes right through sort of here. This isn't exactly properly lined. North America and South America should be more to the south. They don't do this map right, and they know it, because the equator comes right through here through the Congo, but it's also sort of northern Brazil. It's not quite lined up. So it was the Inca culture that was down here during the Renaissance, when the Spaniards showed up. That was the only properly developed culture, that maintains historical records of any sort. And of course, most of those records are destroyed. There's more ancient groups down here, like the people that made the Nazca lines and some other city builders that way predate the Inca, but we just know too little about them. And obviously, other than the Great Zimbabwe, which I also think is sort of a Renaissance era stone building situation, there really is no civilization, what we would call civilization. There are, because civilization has the word city in it. They're really not cities down here. There's societies, but no civilization. And again, we have little or no pre-Renaissance civilizations down here that can measure temperatures and whatnot. So most all of human society, because the Maya were here, but they were long gone when Columbus came here. It was the Aztecs that were the empire here. But most all of human societies are north of the equator. India, China, Indochina, Japan, Europe, the Fertile Crescent, whatever, Egypt. Those are all northern hemispherical ones. And so we don't have, hello, War Daddy. So we don't have good records. Where we do have good records of, like, in the Middle Ages, growing grapes in northern England, not in hothouses and things, that we have records that you can't do practically, at least not good grapes, in the northern climates in Britain today, but they could in the Middle Ages. And we have some other records of things like that in the past. So, for the northern hemisphere. So we have relatively good information for the northern hemisphere. We have very bad information for the southern hemisphere. And I truly do believe it is not so much global warming or global cooling. It is a shifting between hemispheres. But I, wasn't there and not everywhere, so I'm not sure. The main problem with global climate change is high Earth population, especially in Europe, countries with... Oh, Europe has a low population. What are you talking about? This picture here, literally this picture here, includes approximately approximately half this picture here. Doesn't even need all of India, and it's really, quite honestly, it's a little bit more like I'm trying to be a little more sensitive, right? Like a little bit more like this picture here, maybe slightly lower down here in Indonesia, but this sort of picture here is literally half of the world's population. Actually, I think you can almost define it down into something like, South China into Bangladesh, whatever. Half of the world's population is here. So, what do we have here that we're seeing? I don't know why we're seeing that. Okay. So yeah, Europe population is not high population density situation. Hello, Lawson Brady, how you doing? No problem. We're talking, about little ice ages and whatnot. And like I said earlier on, you can check my Twitter thing I posted that from a 1950s magazine, published in 1953. They got a picture of the Manhattan Island, made a big, huge block. Mega doesn't even count for it, but mega sort of building in there. And in 1954, they said all of humanity could live in this building comfortably. Water management and whatnot would be a bit difficult for that size of a building even to this day. But the population is not the problem. Malthus was wrong. The Earth can support a huge more population than it does. We are not even knocking on the edges of stuff. I'll move to Pluto. Yeah, okay. Yes. Nothing natural and human altered. Okay. Hey, I think you should do yourself and everyone a favor by checking out Gravity Tactics when I say it's right up your... Yeah, I have the game. I played it just a tiny little bit and probably should play it a bit more. Checker has a density of... Okay, yeah. Full realism. Okay, well, maybe I'll get over and see that at some point. Yes, thanks, Arno, for posting the Twitter channel up there. You can go see it. I posted that within the last day or so. So yeah, population density is not a problem. I mean, you go to like Hong Kong or Singapore or some of these other places that these cities, Shenzhen, and this sort of area here. Those population densities get wild, but it's not really that bad. People want to live in a rabbit houses like condition Earth can support, but there are costs for that. Yeah. But another thing I've read that if this the Big Island was flat, it's very mountainous, so you can't do this. But if this was flat, humanity could just easily all of it stand. This is not building any multi structures and just stand, not there. All of humanity could just stand right on the Big Island of Hawaii. And so if this was, again, flat, and you were to build a bunch of modern high-tech apartments, buildings, and blah, 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 you could easily house all of humanity on the Big Island of Hawaii. I mean, it's food, and we're getting better at farming the oceans. Farming, I'm not saying overfishing. I mean, actually growing food in the oceans. We're getting better at that. And we're getting better and better land management, so we can support so many more people. And thank you, Arno. Okay, so that's my rant on the ideology of global warming, and it's so terrible when even they say, well, for the next few degrees warmer, it would actually be better for humanity, but if it keeps going, it'll get bad. Well, I don't think, we have any control over it. Oh, and also, there is a way to deal with this global warming, And I think the plan is to have Russia fix global warming by creating a nuclear winter. So don't worry about global warming. You'll glow in the dark if you live, but we'll all be dark because we'll have ash clouds above us from nuclear winter if you live. So that will deal with the global warming. We'll just nuke ourselves. So yeah. Don't have to worry too much about it. See, we could always have gotten rid of global warming whenever we want to. The U.S. could do it. You just push a few buttons. Boom, boom, boom. Global cooling. We could try even to target non-populated areas to create, global cooling. We don't have to blow up cities. We could blow up that. Have you listened to Dan Carlin? I don't know who Dan Carlin is right offhand. Brady. Hello, SM Emmer Hasma. Don't quite get your what you posted there, but hello. I really only read English, but thank you for watching. Believing humanity is doomed because the weather changes you find odd. Yeah. I don't know. Dan Carlin is great. Yeah, I don't know who he is. Don't know if that's a YouTuber or somebody else entirely. That. Okay. History podcast. There's no consensus at all. Yeah, I agree. There isn't consensus. It is not doomed by climate change, but it will be a lot of different words. I don't think so. I think it, like I say, if we get to Middle Age of warm or Classical era warm, I think it will be a great place to live in. But hey, you live in Denmark, so why would you care? It'd be nicer there. Right. Okay. Well, we looked at the my idea starting out with why I'm putting a carrier with each of these battleship divisions. Get back to the game here, and after this long rant, hopefully it was entertaining. We will continue our forward progress in getting to that coal processing technology. Good. We've been under on coal, though we've increased the number of coal mines, if you will, or however they're labeling it. 1522. Yeah, I think we're coming. Let's make sure. Yeah, we could do. Let's do heavy cruiser armor thickness. Keep our heavy cruisers heavy. Hey Gus, how you doing? Good to have you here. More violent weather and lots of buildup. Areas flooded. Well, I don't think that that's what's going to happen. Like I say, I believe the southern ice cap is growing equal to, if not greater than the northern ice cap is freezing. Okay, okay, so we've lost the low popularity. That's good. Capital bulkheads layout advance. Now, I could be all wrong about this, but they said that we had 10 years to do something about this, or 20 years to do something about this 30 years ago. So it's too fucking late by their own sort of thing. So let's stop worrying about it. We had our chance to do it. We failed. So let's just go on, okay? When When you run up and down the street yelling, pot is terrible, pot is terrible. If you smoke pot, your life is going to be ruined. Your life is going to be ruined. And a bunch of people smoke pot and their life isn't ruined. They stop believing you when you say, well, if you take this crystal meth, it's going to ruin your life because your teeth are going to fall out and you're going to die. Well, they're right about one and they're wrong about the other. So alarmists do their cause great injury. They've been climate alarmists for so fucking long that they said we've had 10 years, we've got to start doing all this stuff for 10 years, and we haven't started doing it. So it's already too late, and that was 30 years ago. So F it. So I can't believe you. I'm not talking about you, Beam Slam. I'm just talking about the alarmists out there. The latest last one I saw was on 8.4. I think the world would be warmer, but also wet if the sort of became green once it reduced. Yeah, well, it's weather patterns. I don't know how it's going to affect North Africa. North Africa was greener. My hypothesis for a long time on North Africa has been the Arab conquest has devastated the environment there, but the Arab conquest. Well, it was during. It sort of becomes devastated after the Arab conquest, and was it because of that, or was it because really of the weather patterns changing in the Renaissance mini ice age? I'm not sure. It might be. The capital ship bulkheads. I don't want to stop anything to this. Okay, it's grayed out. Good. And we have a little bit more, so we'll also do heavy cruiser bulkhead land and heavy cruiser horizontal protection while our medium popularity lasts. Yeah, and I live not quite in sight of the ocean, but I'm a little bit on a rise, but not by much. But very near. I live in a city with the name beach in it along this part of the coast here. So yeah, I live very coastally in the Pacific Ocean. Okay, so small news, small entertainment, or news and politics. Which ones do we want to pick here? Okay. Okay. Well, I think we're going to do news and politics just because we want the ruling party support. We're going to wait, get a little more money for that. Well, the Vandals were they were more in the Dark Ages, where the Arabs were coming, I think, more the Middle Ages. And so, I mean, they get as the Renaissance is happening, because the Renaissance is, of course, triggered by the evacuation from, Byzantium. So not just Constantinople, but Byzantium. Okay, new monumental. Copper surplus, we're down a little bit because we sold it. User hole shape optimization advance. Um, in advance. What do you think of? Well, it's been a long time since I played Hoi 4 Black Ice. The last time I played Hoi 4 Black Ice, I raged quit. I am looking forward to once they do the Black Ice and incorporate railroads and get rid of the silly effects that they had for when invading the Soviet Union because of crazy supply stuff that now should be handled by the railroads and not by their effects. If they keep those goddamn effects in, it'll get me to rage quit again. But I liked what they were doing because of the rage quit. Got me over to playing World Ablaze instead of Hoi 4 Black Ice. Some of the stuff they've been doing with Hoi 3 Black Ice I have not been pleased with, but it's generally, I think, a little better on it. What planets in the solar system? Yes, the world. Hello, Stephen. And it's getting worse, yes. Trump voting 4x4 drivers. Yeah, well, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I'm hoping they do a good update for Black Ice with No Step Back. Because you can see I was ranting and raving how once I got one province into the Soviet Union border, all these negative effects were affecting me whenever I was attacking, and I just rage quit. I don't even remember all the details of what it is, but you can go back and watch the episodes, the end of the series, and agree with me or disagree with me. And I even at the time said the effects that they were giving me here, I expected out here. But they were there. Now they should get rid of all of them because you now have the railway system to handle that, to handle the lack of supply. And so if you have a railway system that's running right and you set it up, yeah, you'll be able to have huge amounts of supply way deep into here and supply huge multi-armored cores charging off here with no problem at all if you have the rail system done right. If you don't, you can't. So hopefully they get rid of all their effects and I'll be happy and play it again. But we'll have to see. I haven't heard that they've released it for No Step Back. They might have, but that was weeks or a month or two ago since I last looked. But if it comes out, you had the same issue with Barbarossa. Yeah, I love the rail. Yeah, see, rail and infrastructure in Hoi 4. So this is. I complain about a lot of stuff with Hoi 4. I mean, I complain a lot of stuff about Hoi 3 too, so don't get me wrong. It's not that one is perfect and the other is terrible. No, I complain equally about both. But there's good progress on Hoi 4, which I do like. So, it's not one's great and the other's terrible. It's just, there's good and bad in both of them. Hello, Toyjet. Oh, everyone, Sir Toyjet here on Twitch. I'm not sure whether he's a Russian spy or he escaped from Russia. Which is it, Toyjet? Are you a Russian spy or did you escape from Russia? Because I recently saw a nice infographic that the only nation that has ever trained belugas to be, underwater warriors was Russia. And so I'm thinking you were part of one of these Russian programs and you either are a Russian spy in Norway or you escaped your Russian captivity and you got to Norway. So I'm not sure which it is. No, this is only recently they've been doing beluga training, so your ancestors aren't old enough. So yeah, I think I don't know. You may be a Russian beluga spy, spying on us. Industrial Zone Organization is advanced. Very nice. Okay, yeah, we'll continue that. I know it's 39. We're only in 38, but it's not too far in advance. And torpedo boats. Don't know if we're going to build any for America, but we can do destroyers now. Yes, we want. Okay, South Africa would like to produce. Yes, you can buy a submarine. A submarine on our models. Colombia, no. We can use trade, but I'm not going to trade with Colombia. Okay, we are sort of waiting to do those. Here, just get a little more money stored up. Okay, nav tactics advance. Naval air tactics advance. Yeah, 39. We'll do naval strike tactics. And warhead infusing. That's submarines. And Great War Analysis, which is here. And that's maxed out, right. Continue. Hey, Toy Jet, we are building lots. We're going to be building, and we are building lots and lots of Navy. Lots of ships. Big fleets of ships. Float plane scout. Now let's stick with trying to do a little more. Maybe we've got, okay, we could do medium light anti-carrier, armament. Well, sort of like a dolphin, but with a big melon on his head. Now we all know, just so you know, Toy Jet is insane. So yes, you can have crude. It won't last long. We can't afford much of that. But yes, Toy Jet is insane. He also doesn't believe Denmark exists, but yeah, it tells you the level of insanity he has. Cast ground crew training. No, I haven't been doing enough of that. Maybe. Okay. Well, we've been doing quite a bit. Okay. Let's move over to fighter pilot training. Means passed down to my parents, the Soviet eugenics. Able to hear and identify everything from Los Angeles to Trafalgar, and even close to us. So it means how old is he? Russians been training dolphins for killing people ages ago. It was part of port protection system. Yeah, that was sort of the belugas were doing that too. The U.S. uses, I think, only uses sea lions for. Well, they also maybe do some dolphins, but for looking for objects on the bottom of the ocean. No, not with Colombia. Giant infrastructure projects have advanced. Very nice. And that is here. No. Yes. Okay. Now, like I did say in the talking about America in the 30s, waiting for another event for me to comment on. Okay, the RCA strike. In 1936, Camden's RCA workers walked off their jobs and won serious gains after an extremely volatile and violent strike. The strikes were short-lived, however. New plants opened in Indiana in 36, 1940, 42, and by 52 there were only 700 consumer electronics jobs remaining in Camden. Okay, RCA is in the phonograph back then. You may remember the dog looking into the the speaker. hearing its master's voice on the speaker. I think that's RCA, I do believe. So yeah, workers' rights. Okay, revolt in Camden. Let's go to Camden. Okay. So we have a revolt in Camden. Again, I think these are silly. Not the events and not a negative production efficiency, but just that there's revolts. When they say violent, nobody died in that thing, I do believe, and there was no military involvement. Okay, twin engine bomber crew layouts. Well, let's do gun turrets. Gun turrets are cool. BBs, CVs. Well, we're going to do both. Gramophone. Yeah. Hello, Cold Steel. That would be right. Gramophone. Okay. Yeah. Got a lot to possibly do here now. I'm waiting for another one of those. That's what I'm waiting for. Just another. Okay, we won that. Secretary of Public Information. Here, stop that. And guidance advance, which I believe are torpedoes. Yes. Okay, so we come down here and get ground crews up to date a bit more. Now that we have a bit more money, these shouldn't be huge. Gold mine online. Oh, that's going to lose Gold and Rapid City by 1. Okay, well, let's start with news and politics. That's the one we're going to do. And then we're going to come out. We're going to come to diplomacy. Oh, well, let's look and see what we have. I sort of could do it on just knowing, but here. Okay, we have major movie studio that was given to us, and that should be, meaning at the start. And we did advanced education. That should always be the first one, because if you're going to do it, you might as well get the leadership early into the beginning. Okay, Imperial Finance Ministry Gold. Don't know that we really want to do that. Money, well, we're doing pretty good with money. We could do the ruling party support, but Volt risk down, that would be the J. Edgar Hoover building, as it were. There is a building called that still. Ruling party support. Imperial seat of government was probably the thing, because we don't really need foreign ministry. Wouldn't be bad, and we're not yet at war, so we don't need a war ministry. So yeah, we're going to do imperial seat of government. Imperial seat of government, that's the one. And that will cost us 1,000 gain 3 in descent. How are this? What how's things going? Things are going all right, Cold Steel. And I don't know, Steve Rollinson, what or this, but okay. Okay, yes. So now we have that, which should help our ruling party support and leadership, and does so. Yay. Those are all being researched. Those could be. We can get these. Though I really do try to do. Well, you know what we can do, which will get us some HQs to drop around the place, which will help with revolt risk a bit. We'll do motorized. We'll also do new projects. So cool down happens. Super DDs are armed with guns. Don't know if quite going to go that big. Okay, Great War Demonstration. The Great War Demonstration is held today in the capital. Tens of thousands of people cheered. Cabinet members and members of the opposition as they all met to speak in public at today's event. The head of government, I think this is just a random thing, because they are not mentioning any actual personalities, announced that this country will never again accept such evil as those that took place during the last year. Head of state also told the people to rally behind the government. Okay, well, it's Great War Manifestation until May 12th, 1938, so it's just for a month here, it looks like. Well, okay, ruling party support national revolt was down is very good, and propulsion advance, which is great, which unlocks all of that. Tungsten, who with Netherlands. Okay, we can use the money. Okay, rare material techniques, said high density alloys, which will move that to there. And now with that other extra money, I think we will do gold by 1 in Rapid City. Can we easily, I think Rapid City is out here somewhere. Well, let's look for Rapid City. No, what am I, RAP, not in the R's. Gamer can't spell. If you didn't know, gamer can't spell. Yeah. Blank on things for some reason. I don't know why. Oh, P-I. There we are. Man, I don't know. For some reason, I get confused on these things. Here we are. Okay, Rapid City, which gets us this gold out here. So we struck gold. Everyone, AU. There we go. Okay, good for that. For some reason I get things mixed up. I have a mild form of dyslexia, I know. So, okay, battleship armor thickness, which is probably hopefully grayed out. Okay. Could do medium anti-air artillery for battleships. Okay, carrier screws. Out. Okay, most everything here is either up to date or being researched on for actual structural elements of carriers. So let's do mountain HQs next. Now, what does Costa Rica want? Yes, crude oil, you can have it. Okay, small, okay, 2,000 money down. Yes, I hate this. What they're doing with money for paying ships. Okay, hey, oh shit. I forgot to move that over. Don't know if I moved it. Forgot to put the localization files. This Germany has decided. This is IG Farb, and this you're seeing here again. I didn't move the localization file over because I quickly did it. Quickly put some stuff together, and I just forgot to move it over. So the event name and the event description aren't here. But this is the notification that's in. You normally see it on the when you play with Third Reich Events, my mod for Germany. There, does Germany want to continue doing business with America, with Standard Oil? What they were doing was working on synthetic rubber. Now, IG Farben was also working for synthetic oil, but America didn't care. Standard Oil didn't care about synthetic oil because they had more than enough oil. But they did really want to do synthetic rubber. So Detroit, Motor City, Detroit, will get 5 rare materials, synthetic rubber plant, basically in essence, and 250 gold, not that much, and 500 supplies, not that much. Basically, benefits from doing business with Germany. So we get that. So here we now have much more rare materials coming up to there, so that will be good. Okay, so we're going to get support territorial pride. Okay, carrier rudder. That'll be grayed out. There was a lot of okay, grayed out, yes, and twin engine armament. Let's continue with. Well, we got a lot of these to do, but since these are way back in 37, let's see about getting some of the 37 technologies there. There was a lot of business and research being done between Germany and America. Now, but you got to still picture this, and I say a lot of it, but nothing to the scale that we see today with global trade. There is so much global trade going on that I think, well, if any government is being rational and not being ideological, and I'm not just saying the left here, because traditionally in America on the right, they were globalists. Well, not really globalists, but they believed, ideologically believed, that competition is good, or all competition is good, and that just because you're importing T-shirts either from China or now the new country is to import them, I believe, from Bangladesh. China got too expensive and Bangladesh is cheaper. That American industry would just find a way to make T-shirts cheaper than China or Bangladesh. They ideologically believe that. And what they didn't account for, and it really hits like America with steel industry, because America is steel central in the 1930s and definitely in the 1940s, is making globally, I'm sure, the most steel out of anybody. And maybe the most steel compared to everybody. I'm sure no one is making more steel than America in the 1940s, and before America gets into the war and during the war. I'm sure America is making more steel than anybody else, and maybe even more than everybody combined. I don't know about that second part, but definitely more than anybody else. But it's an older steel industry, and Japan's steel industry gets largely destroyed. Germany's steel industry gets largely destroyed. And then there are rebuilding efforts, including by America, for Japan and Germany. But there's also rebuilding efforts after the Korean War in Korea to build steel industries up. And America's steel industry is out of date, so it's not very efficient. It is also highly unionized, so not only is it difficult to, say, fire a particular employee, it's also very difficult to cut back on employees. Because if you employ 1,000 workers at this plant, they don't want you putting in a new process that only needs 500 workers, because that means 500 jobs lost. So they're all going to strike. We've been seeing these events about strike. So we're all going to strike. Got to protect the jobs. Now, yes, that's the union's interest, is to protect jobs. But what happens if you protect all of the jobs so that none of the jobs are protected, meaning the company goes out of business? You protected the jobs until everybody lost their job. Now, my understanding from watching things, YouTube videos and such, that China highly subsidized the government, its steel industry, and they export steel. And why would they do that? Well, if you export steel cheaper than other companies, you can put other companies out of business in other countries, and once they're out of business, then there's maybe not only one place, but there are fewer places to get it, so they can raise their steel prices up, and they now strategically, as in national competitions, whether you go to war or not, isn't the point, but strategically you control resources, and economically you can make a lot of money because you can now raise the prices. I believe also Germany, the government subsidizes the steel industry so that it's competitive to the rest of the world. Now, they, I believe, are to some degree trying to put others out of business, yes, but I also believe it's just to be able to pay German workers a lot of money, or good money, to make to compete in the steel industry worldwide, because they value it. So when America refuses to either put tariffs or other import restrictions on steel, and refuses to, because of ideological lines for the first part, as well as the second part, refuses to subsidize the steel industry, not only does it fail because it's lack of modernization, it fails because it's unfair competition. Not, well, the world, it should be fair. No, it's the idea that if everybody else out in the world decides we're going to give free steel away at half price, not free, but half price. Everybody half price. We'll sell steel to you half price. Every country out there except for America, what's going to happen? All of the steel is going to shut down in America because it can't compete. It just can't. There is just no way that it's going to compete. So you destroy the American steel industry, and that's what's happened. I mean, it's somewhat recovered, but it's not anywhere where it should be. So it's not the global market that it is today back then, but there's still a lot of trade. And so when I talk about ideology, putting ideology over reality, yes, there should be competition on steel internationally. The U.S. should feel it. But they also need to go, well, if we're not producing at least, 40% of the steel used in America, we have a problem, gentlemen, or ladies and gentlemen. We have a problem. We need to produce at least 40% of our steel. So if for some reason, whether it's shutting down a country because of a disease appearing in your country, China right now, or whether it's some war out there cutting off international trade, not really happening with Russia on steel, but out there that we can't control, at least we would have a steel industry that would keep essential progress going, and maybe you would then adjust up in your steel production. And you got to understand too, banks are important. I know banks get blamed for everything because they're the money people and blah blah blah, capitalists, socialists, or the socialists and communists complain about the capitalists. But banks are important. What banks do is allows you to go and look and say, hey, I need to build or rebuild or renovate my steel mill. And if I do this, I'll be able to pay back this loan over 20 years, over 30 years, because if I wait for 20 or 30 years and save up the money to rebuild the steel mill, I'll go out of business because we won't be here in 20 years. So we need to build, do something to make steel in a more modern and efficient way. This could have been like back in 1960 or something. They should be able to say this. But what the problem is when you go into the bank, right, Mr. Steel, mega steel billionaire or whatever, the company, not necessarily the individual. Right. Well, how do we know you're going to be in business? Because the government's saying that they won't protect you, and you're being flooded by cheap steel from, back then it wasn't China, but from Japan or from Germany or Korea or wherever. You're being flooded by steel. How do we know that you're going to be in business? You need surety at that sort of scale. So you need the idea of, like, the U.S. government could say, well, we're going to buy X amount of steel to build ships, warships or whatever, or tanks or whatever it is, or we're gonna pass a law that says all railways in America, all the rails will need to be made with steel made in America, or something like that. To go, well, look that we have this market. We may not sell steel for automakers because that's not being protected, but this other thing is you need a surety for an industry, and but now on the other hand, the problem is that if you completely protect the steel industry, protectionism, the unions used to like that because it protected American jobs, but protectionism will keep lack of innovation, lack of, well, why do we need to, change the way we make steel? Because if we change the way we make steel like they do in Germany, we're only going to need 500 instead of 1,000 workers or whatever it is at this plant. And so the unions will be upset with us. And we're protected, so let's just keep making the money. And, let's not invest in new stuff until it truly, in it's old style, so it's probably built so it would never fall apart. So it'd probably work forever. So why would we want to do this? Well, it's, because we're too protected. So protectionism is wrong on the other scale. So you need a balance between competition, but managed in a way that whether it's natural things, simply like lack of environmental controls in some countries, or wages are dramatically lower, not just at the tip of the spear, say the steel workers' wages, but when that steel worker goes to buy a house, the local people that are building the house are paid much less, and when he goes into a local restaurant, they're paid much less, and the farmers pay. So the whole economy can operate on a lot less money than comparatively in America or a more developed nation. So, some of it may be natural competitive variances as opposed to artificially, subsidizing an industry. So you need to come and look at this. So all the ideologues on the right or on the left, however you want to do it, need to do good management. And so in this, again, get back to the 30s and early 40s, before it enters the war, Germany and the U.S. have some similar goals. And one of the goals is for Germany to pay back the money that it borrowed from the U.S. Because you have to remember, World War I ends. The victors say, you started the war, Germany, you owe us money for all the damages you did. And I think it's reasonable. And so Germany's going, but, oh yeah, here we got a bunch of Reichsmarks. No, we don't want your old Reichsmarks. We don't want your new, whatever they changed, or whatever they called them during the Weimar Republic's era. I don't know. We don't want your paper money. We want pounds sterling. We want U.S. dollars. We want French francs, or we want gold or silver. Germany's going, but we don't have any of that. Well, the American banks, as well as other industries that put money into banks, made a lot of money in World War I. So they had a lot of money sitting around. So America goes, hey, Germany, we'll loan you the money so that you can pay your war indemnities to the victors, including to the U.S., but heavily to places like Belgium, like France, like Britain. And as long as you pay us back. So the U.S. is trying through this Depression era to keep its loans being paid back, so that the U.S. financial system doesn't collapse more. So they're trying to keep all of this going on with each other. And it's important, and they're talking about tulips and whatnot. I don't know. Okay. So, yeah, I think this is, I know we haven't gotten very far. Hopefully it's been interesting ranting about things. We will be continuing live here, so don't get worried about that. But everyone else who's watching later on YouTube, I know it's easier for you in smaller chunks, so try to keep it that way. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking. See you next time for even more, yes, more Hearts of Iron.